I hope you guys are doing well. Today I'm going to be talking about Blade Runner 2049. Saw this movie on Sunday. Glad that I got to see it opening weekend because this movie has not been doing very well at the box office. It was projected around $50 million, made around $31.5 million, around $50 million though worldwide, but it was projected for $50 million domestically, so it hasn't been doing very well. But that said, it is a phenomenal film that I'm going to review right now, and we're going to talk about this film in two aspects, mostly style and substance, because a lot of times even the original Blade Runner is kind of criticized for being style over substance, and I've heard a lot of that criticism for this film as well. So we're going to talk about it in both aspects. And for me, it was an excellent film that was both style and substance. This is directed by Denis Villeneuve, who is one of my favorite directors working in Hollywood right now, as is with most movie fans. Most people are in love with this guy. Had a very talented star cast, and I'm looking forward to talking about this with you guys. So let's get right into it. Just so you know, I have not seen the original Blade Runner, and I never really got a chance to see it. I was hoping to see it before I saw 2049. Didn't get a chance to see it, the original, but just so you guys know that, knowing going into my review. But let's get right into the review, guys. In terms of style, I'm going to talk about this film first, mostly from a technical point of view. You know, things like cinematography, things like music, things like landscapes and production design, all of which were excellent in this film, and that should come as no surprise since the guy doing the cinematography for this film is Roger Deakins, who has been known for being excellent. Doing excellent work in cinematography, and he was going to do excellent work in this film, as we saw from the trailer footage, and the actual film lives up to that. Most of the excellent cinematography from this film comes from those big wide shots that Deakins employs, where you have a lot of these landscapes, these very techno-punk kind of landscapes, and the landscapes of the city or the setting. And Roger Deakins has a very good eye for how to show setting in a way where you're kind of searching the frame to see several things going on, and I've referred to this as a multi-layered shots in my videos before, where in one shot you have separate actions happening in the frame at the same time. Sometimes it's in the foreground, and sometimes it's in the background, and sometimes it's in both. So your eyes are constantly feasting on what's going on in the frame, and it's often several different things happening inside one frame. So I love that about Blade Runner 2049 cinematography, is that there are so many of those shots where an actor will be in the foreground, but there'll be action going on in the background. So that's really interesting and makes a very, very visually enticing scene, and it helps engage the audience into the film, especially when your film is so slow-paced as Blade Runner 2049 is. Not a criticism, just a fact. It helps to just engage the audience through really good cinematography, and I felt like Blade Runner 2049's Roger Deakins really outdid himself with those kind of multi-layered shots. And there are very simple shots in this film too. Those wide shots are amazing. And one of my favorite things about one of the sequences in this film is how Roger Deakins is able to use camera motion to its optimal point. And specifically, I'm talking about when there's times when Ryan Gosling, the character, his character is going through the city, or we get shots of the city. We get a very moving camera that kind of just moves around the city, so you get a very full scope and view of the city, and kind of brings you into the movie more than if the camera remains stationary. So I think Roger Deakins has a really good eye for kind of bringing the audience into the film, as well as keeping them engaged, looking for things inside the frame. And in general, I was really impressed by the cinematography. This is some of the best cinematography of the year. This is noteworthy because Roger Deakins, I don't think he's won an Oscar yet. So I think this could be the film if this movie ends up going to the Academy, which it definitely should. And I'll talk a little bit more about Ryan Gosling's performance later. But this is definitely an Oscar-worthy cinematography piece. This is some of the, I'd say the best other cinematography I've seen this year is from Dunkirk. But I think this movie had the better cinematography, if you know what I mean. I felt like this one at least fit more with the structure of the story. While I still think Dunkirk did a great job, I'd give this one more points for being a better film with better cinematography. Going on to the music. So the music in this film is very techno trance. If you've seen the original Blade Runner, it has a very famous main theme, a very famous score. Blade Runner 2049, from what I've heard, draws inspiration from the original score, but a lot of it is new stuff. So we've gotten a lot of these techno trance kind of musics scores recently, and this one's not really different in any way, except that it draws inspiration from the original Blade Runner. But in general, I think I really enjoyed the way that the score was laid out and the way that it matched the scenes and the way that they integrated it into the movie. So overall, I was really happy with the score. In terms of how it looked and how the score went with the movie, it felt really real, and it helped bring that kind of engaging aspect into the movie. So I kind of enjoyed that. In general, overall, that's just what I have for style. In terms of substance, though, we're going to talk a little bit about how the performances were in this film. Ryan Gosling, I mean, the guy, you can put him into any sort of film, and he just transforms into that character. If you've seen La La Land or if you saw Nice Guys, and I think he's a kind of an underappreciated actor who's been working for a very long time and has only been gaining appreciation over time now. And this is some of his best work. He gives such a nuanced and real performance in this film as Kay, who is a character who's very conflicted inside. He's a very complex character. He's having to deal with a lot of different things, particularly in terms of his identity, without giving away too much. And I think he captured that character really well. Part of that is, of course, how well the movie is written and how well these characters are written. And I really enjoyed the fact that Ryan Gosling was able to capture that character in a very nuanced kind of, not very overwhelming kind of way. It wasn't very on the nose, as you would say. It was very, very nuanced, and I think he captured the core of the character very, very well. Other actors in this film, Dave Bautista, he gave a very surprisingly fresh performance in this film. He is only in the film for a little bit. I don't think that's a spoiler. But he's only in the film for a little bit, but his performance was so much better than I expected, and I had a lot of reservations going in because it's not really easy to cast Dave Bautista in a very serious role, but I think that he did an excellent job with his role. Harrison Ford is also in this film for a while, and he gave an excellent supporting performance, and it's very refreshing to see Harrison Ford now in something that's a little bit less lighthearted. You know, we see him as Han Solo. We've seen him as Indiana Jones a couple times recently, but overall, I think seeing him in this performance, giving a very strong, nuanced, kind of traumatized performance where he has to play this character with a lot of trauma from his past and kind of trauma coming up, and just a very complex character who is Rick Deckard, was really refreshing to see because I like Harrison Ford, and I just was waiting for him to see him in this kind of role. This is some of the best acting he's done recently. As a supporting actor, he definitely is a shoo-in for the Oscars, and Ryan Gosling, I believe, is also a shoo-in for Best Actor in the Academy Awards. So this is in terms of the acting. Also, I would give a lot of credit to the actress who played Joy in the film. When you see the film, there's a character named Joy. Look out for the actress. I don't know her name on the top of my head, and I forgot to look it up, to be very honest with you. But she gave such an excellent performance in this film. And as a character, and I'll talk about this more when we get into characters, is she's a very interesting character. And there's a lot of cool interplay, a really well done interplay between her character and Kay's character. So I really enjoyed that about this film. In terms of characters and pacing and story, well, let's get into that, and direction also a little bit. Denis Villeneuve has outdone himself with this one, guys. He has outdone himself. If you don't know already, Arrival. He directed Arrival, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I was obviously looking forward to this, and everyone's kept their eyes on Denis Villeneuve for a long time anyway. So I think Denis Villeneuve is that kind of director who understands how to take a story that could be cold and emotionless and inject this sort of sensitivity into that kind of breathes new life into the film. And I think Blade Runner 2049, what my biggest concern was going into the film was that it's going to be a cold, lifeless, and stale, sci-fi movie with some philosophical aspects, but no real emotion packed into it. And man, was I wrong about that, because Denis Villeneuve has outdone himself. And the people who worked on this film have really worked to put a very strong sense of emotion in this film, whether it be raw, visceral emotion, or very complex, complicated emotions. They really outdid themselves with this film. This is far from a cold Blade Runner movie. This is far from any of that. There's a lot of interesting emotions for you to kind of dissect as you go on this film. In addition to some of those philosophical and thought-provoking themes that you would expect to see from a Blade Runner film that are also present. There's a lot of emotion in this film too, which is one of my favorite parts of this movie. Is that how can we take these characters who would naturally kind of be cold and lifeless because of what they're going through, and put real emotions into them while also hitting those marks of philosophy and thought-provoking themes that you'd expect from a Blade Runner movie. So in terms of bringing that all together, Denis Villeneuve has done an amazing job. In terms of screenplay, this film is really, really well written. What I like about this film is that it really functions as a really good sci-fi mystery, and it's not a very cliched sci-fi mystery. It's a very, very realistic mystery where you kind of get a real sense of how Ryan Gosling his character is looking for answers. There could have just been times where they could have, made the movie a little bit more fast-paced, put a quick montage of him looking for stuff, but no, you'll get a very slow and purposeful search for answers, which ultimately brings you more into the movie. Because I hate it when in mystery movies or crime movies where they just kind of get the answers either by a fluke or by chance, or they don't have to work towards it, or for some reason they just put up a montage and boom, now we have the answer through that one montage. But in this film, you really feel like there's a real police investigation going on, and the fact that that police investigation has just been dipped into that amazing world of sci-fi film noir is just an excellent piece of work, honestly. And I just love that kind of police investigation aspect of this film. It was very suspenseful in a very slow burn kind of way, but it was very suspenseful, and you kept looking for answers. With Kay, you would often be just frustrated. I remember watching this movie and being frustrated as to why the answers weren't just out in plain sight. But it takes time, as in a real police investigation, it would take time to get to that point and find those answers. And this film understands that and goes in a slow and purposeful manner to get to those answers. And the payoff, guys, is incredible. The answers that you'll get in this film are very unexpected and really well integrated into the film, along with those emotions and just those philosophical themes. And the movie just comes together so well. It's sprawling 3 hours long, but it felt really short to me personally. It's such an engaging, suspenseful film where you're trying to find answers with Ryan Gosling playing Kay, who's acting so well, and everyone's acting well, and there's this great cinematography on the screen. It's just a work of art. This film is amazing. 2 thumbs up, A+ for me on this one. And I wasn't really expecting for my grade to be that high, because I honestly came into this film with a lot of reservations. But I'm so happy to say that this film has outdone itself, and Denis Villeneuve is still one of the best directors working out there. Blade Runner 2049 is what I want to see in the movies. This is why I go to the theater, to see movies like this, and it really blew my mind, and I really enjoyed it, and I think so will you. Even if you feel like you won't be able to, either handle or understand or be able to fully appreciate some of the more thought-provoking philosophical themes, still go see this movie, because even if you have trouble, getting your mind wrapped around those kind of themes, there's so much even on the surface level of this film where you have this really not fun, but very engaging, suspenseful mystery. Even though it's a little bit slow paced and a little slow burn, that kind of gives it a more authentic feel, in my opinion. You get this really cool mystery with a lot of unexpected twists, turns, a lot of great acting, and amazing work of cinematography on screen. And once that music starts to play and that Blade Runner theme is on, you're in that world. See this on a big screen. It is worth to be seen in the theater. This is one of my favorite films of this year. This is just a phenomenal piece of film work. I mean, this is everything I go to the movies for. And every time I see a Denis Villeneuve film, I find myself saying, this is why I go to the movies. So Denis Villeneuve, hats off, man. You are still producing great work, and you are the next Spielberg. You are that next great master. And it's been an honor just to see your films. And having seen Arrival, you're like, how can you top Arrival? For me personally, I love Arrival that much. I was like, how can you top Arrival? I still think Arrival is a little bit of a better film, but Blade Runner 2049 is damn close. So go see this movie big. A+ for me. Excellent film. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this review, and I'm having the Star Wars Last Jedi trailer review for you guys very soon, so stay tuned for that.